Hey y'all, it's a big back, and we just got 1167, so let's talk about it. First, we see Morgan's getting way more press than ever after the Guy Valley incident. He's getting word that a giant calamity is wreaking havoc on any and all pirates and crushing their hopes and dreams, and that happens to be Harold. The participants of God Valley have all went their separate ways and made a name for themselves and just became the face of their own generation. Many of them just battling for territory, but out of all the crews, it was the Roger Pirates that conquered the Grand Line, and we see them bestowed the name the King of the Pirates crew right before Roger's execution. We see the Great Age of Piracy start again, just like from Chapter 1. And for some reason, the answer for the Marines was to get 10 giants, just 10, which is kind of crazy with Harold being basically a government dog. I would assume you would get way more giants, but I guess that's all you can get to consolidate for strength. We cut back to the Holy Land, and still there are hella celestial dragons salivating at the idea of having Harold as the slave, but instead he's meeting with the Gorosei, and he's given the God Steel title, which is basically the right hand of the God's Knights. He's given his God's Knight tattoo, or whatever circle tattoo that most of them have. And this is the start of his Shallow Sea contract, which is the minor contracts of the three, and the other two being the Deep Sea and the deep sea contracts. Those being basically for the other God's Knights and those that know of the true God. Of course, Harold is curious about what this true God is, but he's told that once he becomes a God's Knight, he'll know. He then meets with Summers, Galling, and Shamrock, and he's just as obedient as ever, and just fully accepts his role as the right hand. And they don't talk down to him or nothing. They just accept him for being the God Steel. Lets them know if anything comes up, we'll contact you. But until then, you're free to sail the surface world. Just don't talk business. We then cut to Fishman Island, where Harold is meeting with Neptune, and they're drinking and reminiscing about life, and then they start talking about the kids, and it's Neptune that even reminds Harold that even in his youth, he was just as brash and chaotic as Loki. And it seems he's starting to understand where Loki's coming from in his youth. Neptune then tells Harold about his future daughter being born, and for some odd royal reason, he basically just gives a hand to Loki, which is very odd, and especially with her not even being born yet. And of course, Harold gladly declines the gesture, but Neptune just goes on about how powerful she'll be one day, and that appeals to Harold a little bit, and he proposes a toast to her, and nicknames her Mosa Mosa. That kind of confirms that Shirahoshi is the person talking to Loki while he's chained up, but it doesn't explain why the Dendemushi doesn't look anything like Shirahoshi. Maybe it's just maybe they found a way to communicate secretly, but we'll have to wait and see for that reveal. We then see Saul get welcomed to Elbaf, and Harold proposes that he helps start a school for the country, and of course Saul is very curious about that. We then cut 15 years later, and we see none other than Fisher Tiger escaping the Holy Land, and while he's running, he's basically he's basically blitzed by a very shadowy Shanks figure, and they don't attack him directly. They just break his cuffs, and then tells him, "Hey, the armory is open. This is the location." And that's when he begins to wreak havoc and free as many slaves as he can, including Bo and her sisters. And it's just very heartbreaking seeing Bo so vulnerable and just in that despair. But it was very great to see her and her sisters finally escape once again. So that panel is always gonna hit. We then see Harold being debriefed about the whole situation with Fisher Tiger as he's being introduced to Shanks, and he seems to be familiar with Shanks, but Shanks completely talks down to him, puts him in his place, claims he's blessed to have feculent blood in his veins. We see Shanks walk off with Shamrock, and they give me hella Griffith vibes just from the hair, the outfit, the sword. It just looks like two Griffiths, and that's very terrifying. We see Shanks wants to learn more about the Holy Land and find the culprit, but Shamrock tells him just heal up your wounds, and it's revealed that Shanks was gone for 24 years, and while he was gone, he felt very out of place and just hated being there, and Harold overhears that. We cut back to Elbaf, and Ida's healing up from a very bad undisclosed illness, and even though friends and lovers of her are trying to get her to get in contact with Harold, she's just wanting to keep a tavern open. We also see Loki bullying another giant and making her cook for him and Ida, and saying that the tavern is his favorite place anywhere. Hadruden and some other giants have left to to go find a way better doctor to help Ida. And even though she knows, even though she thinks they're doing too much, or is blown out of proportion, she still she still feels that warmth of them caring so much about her and wanting her to get better. We then cut to Loki, and he's approached by Estrid's family member, and they talk down about Ida and reveals that they poisoned her. Basically, for not wanting her to be in the royal family. And as Ida is getting worse and worse, she's still trying to stay positive, but Loki has hell is broken loose from Loki, and even though he's causing so much havoc, he's begging and pleading that what he said isn't true, and that Ida's the only mother he's ever known. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this chapter, from the world building, character development, seeing Loki finally accept Ida as his mother. It's beautiful to see, but I feel like next chapter is gonna be very tragic because we don't see Ida in the present day, and that's very worrying for me. But y'all let me know what you think of 1167. How you feel about Harold? How you feel about Shanks? Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch y'all later.